What's going on, it's the RapNerd, and with it being after the opening weekend of Sinners, I feel like it's finally a safe space to talk about spoilers. And I also saw it Sunday, so the movie is fresh in my mind, and I can also say that my admiration and love for this movie has grown even more. I have a few points that I want to touch and was talking about this movie that were more spoiler territory than I could get into, so I'm not going to touch on what I did in my review because that was really praising the technicality of the film, the performances, the cinematography, the sound design, all of those things that you want to hear about to be sold for the movie. So this is just my specifics. And what makes it even better is some of these things that I wanted to touch on are also things that have been floating around in the media, whether it be headlines or just fans breaking things down. And I feel like this is a 2-for-1 video. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is the inspiration for this movie, and I kept out what I felt like it felt like my initial review because I didn't want to sway opinions or views, but it's obvious that a big inspiration of this film is From Dusk Till Dawn, as far as the structuring of the film, where the first half feels like one thing, then the second half is the vampire chaos, right? And this is no secret. Ryan has said it in multiple interviews that that was a big inspiration, as well as The Faculty, and he even screened the movie for Robert Rodriguez himself as just a way to pay homage and let him know how much his work inspired Ryan. So I think it's something I wanted to really put out there because I've already seen the narrative of people trying to say that this movie is copy and paste. Not going to say the people's name, but they're absolutely wrong with that. And to go into inspiration, that's what auteurs do. That's what good art is. If you look around in today's cinema, a lot of these movies are inspired by something that the director saw. I mean, Ty West X is a playoff of the Chainsaw Massacre. Everything Everywhere is a clear playoff of The Matrix, and you can even throw a little bit of The One into that because it deals with the multiverse. The Batman is heavily inspired by Seven and another movie that I don't know if people put 2 and 2, but the girl with the dragon tattoo is also a big inspiration. I mean, there are shots pulled from that movie that are directly placed in the Batman as homage to it. So when you go looking, you can find inspiration. So I don't think that that needs to be held onto as like a knock because it's unfair. Because I feel like what Coogler did with this movie is also kind of give me a confirmation on the theory that I had, and it just really helps me find myself on my creative journey because I want to be a writing director. Like Coogler took a film like From Dusk Till Dawn, and yes, he used the construction of that, but what makes it so much different is the lens that the storytelling is coming from through the view of a black man in this instant. And he pumps so much other things into the film, spirituality, blues music, just it almost being a musical in general, this crime story with the two brothers. There's so much pumped into this emotionally that it makes itself its own. The way we go about the characters are way different. You actually feel for everybody in the first half of the movie, even the twins, in comparison to From Dusk Till Dawn. The brothers here are just scumbags. You don't give a shit about them at all. Their motivations are terrible. You know that they're not good people. Whereas with Sinners, Smoke and Stack, yes, they're gangsters and they definitely rip people off, and they're scumbags in their own right, but we get more of them. It shines a light as to why they are the way they are, how they ended up here, and just the tragic story of them being who they are. And then once you pump in the other historic roots into the film, it just takes on a life of its own. So that's why it can't be a copy and paste of anything. For me, that lets me know that these stories being told through different lenses makes a big difference in how they impact people. So to move on to other inspirations after watching this film for the second time is I got a whole lot of Salem's Lot vibes. I don't think that I said that on the first review. That's another one that it really reminded me of. Of course, the design is obviously Salem's Lot like, with the yellow eyes mixed in with a little bit 30 Days a Night with the fingers and all of that. But just there's a lot of imagery and unraveling that happens like Salem's Lot, where we start with one vampire and this virus just spreads to the entire town. Like, I really love that moment at the end of the film when Remick and Church Boy are in this pool of water. Here you have Remick saying the Lord's Prayer along with Church Boy, and it cuts to this sequence of all of the people walking, and you just see them walking really zombie-like with these yellow eyes, bleeding through the darkness, and just horrifying imagery. That shit is terrifying. That sequence, out of all of them, really gave me Salem's Lot's vibe, like in abundance, and it made me think about just that sequence in general. And I love the scene too, where it's just so cool that he's sitting there, in a sense, baptizing church boy while he's talking to him, just keeps dunking his head in water. I love the play on faith that this movie also does as well. So I figure this is a good way to roll into my next point. And something that I've been seeing as well is there are people saying that this isn't quite horror, or this is kind of a horror movie, or I don't really feel like it's a horror movie, it's got a little bit of horror, blah, blah. Stop it. Stop the cap. This movie is 100% a horror movie and cannot be mistaken with anything else. Just because the first half gives you a lot of cultural resonance with the spirituality and all these things, it is still a horror movie. Once the party goes crazy, there's no way possible that you can't say this is a horror movie. And on top of that, even in the first half, you're still given spurts of horror in there. I mean, the film opens up to church boy pulling up to the church bloody as hell with a huge gash on his face, and as he's walking in, which is super dope. I love that Ryan did that. When he sees his father talking, he makes the exact same motions Remick makes, and then it flashes really quick to Remick having the exact same pose, does it twice. You can't tell me that's not horror. You can't mistake that. And then you also get the moment when Remick takes over the household. That is 100% horror. And in the third act, come on, bro. Once Mary gets shot, retool it back. Once Mary gets turned into the vampire, like an excellent jump scare of her walking away. You see Malik float, and then it cuts so instantly, like precise, beautiful horror editing from Coogler. He knows what he's doing, and that's really the big reason why I'm like, don't disrespect this movie by saying it's not a horror film. Coogler really set out to make a real balls to the wall horror movie, and he did. Like I said, that third act is vampire mayhem, blood squirting like Kill Bill, stakes to the heart, decapitations, arms getting ripped off. Like, come on, let's stop it. Stop the cap. You can't say this isn't a horror film just because it had some emotional punch into it. Like, are you for real? As I mentioned earlier, when Remick and Church Boy were in that pool of water, his whole look changed. And what we were seeing there is just so nightmarish. And then you have that hard 80s guitar riffing in the back that sounds like Fright Night or Lost Boys. Come on. I really think that the people who say that this is not a horror movie don't watch horror movies like that, because this is 100% that. Come on. Like, part of the reason I love the movie so much is because of how hard Ryan went into the horror elements. Again, that third act when the vampires walk into the barn and it's just an all-out kill fest. Chef's kiss. What a way to double down that this is a horror movie, and he didn't hold back at all, and I absolutely love that aspect of it. So the next point that I wanted to go to, I speak about Remick a lot, and I didn't say anything about him really in my non-spoiler review because kind of got to get into spoilers to talk about him. I love what Remick represents. I've seen a lot of interpretations of what he is and all of this stuff, but I see it a step further than what people are saying. Like, of course, yeah, he's not racist. He don't really care about race. He has his own background in as being an Irishman, and he even sees eye to eye with the black people in the movie because he understands what being looked down as lesser means, and he kind of tries to sell them on the idea of like, hey, the world's already lost. Like, you're in a losing world. You might as well join me and be able to do what you want and fight back and be free. I love that because, yet again, it's a manipulation. Yeah, just because you may not be a racist and you don't care about that type of thing like the other white folks, in the movie care about, like the KKK and just racism in general, the ideology that he's presenting is still in the same vein as the folks that he's trying to dismiss, which I think is brilliant because in a lot of ways, that's kind of culturally how things also went with the others, like the Irishmen and, the Italians who came to America and were once looked down as lesser than, but as soon as they became acceptable and black folks became the second class people, they kind of took the same position in a way. Not to say that they act like slave owners and were doing the slave owning, but they took the same position as being better than and didn't do anything to help and became oppressors just like them folks did. And that's the same exact thing that Remick is trying to sell them. And that's the part that I don't see mentioned, but I think it's brilliant for Ryan to effortlessly write that into the film without having to say it straight up. But when you start thinking about it, it is what it is. He's doing the same exact thing just for vampirism, because he is the master vampire. Everybody is still under his control. And I think that was the beautiful thing of him outside doing his dance, you know, with his ancestry and culture, is it's 100% the parallel of what went on inside. You know, inside, when they were doing the dance, the ancestors and everything were dancing around and people were doing what they wanted freely. Some people were dancing with the music, other people were playing craps, other people were eating. Everybody was under their own control. Whereas when you look outside, when they're dancing around Remick, they're all serving his purpose and doing what he wants to do. They're dancing for him instead of with him. Brilliant. And then to wrap this up, so I'm not, long-winded here, the ending to me was just the best way to end the film. And I don't mean the post-credit scene. I do think that scene was great and it just expounds the lore of what's going on here. But to have Smoke eradicate an entire sector of the KKK on his own, chef's kiss, cherry on top, bow on top of the president. What a way to end the film, bro. Oh my God. I'm never the guy in the movie theater who wants to clap and cheer. But when that scene happened, I was that guy. When the film ends, Church Boy goes back to the church. Smoke is trying to roll, a tobacco joint. And I'm sitting here wondering, I'm like, okay, I was looking forward to that machine gun shot from the trailer. What are we doing here? And then it starts to replay everything. The score kicks up that do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and they start showing the Klansmen talking, and I was like, oh, are they gonna do it? Are they going to do it? And I didn't know how far it was gonna go. I didn't know if Mike was gonna clap him up and then get injured, and it's kind of this thing of heroic bloodshed where he's getting shot up, but he ends up, killing them all and drops down. And while it was that, it wasn't that at the same time. This was 100% just Mike leveling everybody, starting with a sniper rifle, then popping out with that machine gun as he's just in slow motion, chopping the whole squad up. And then he threw that grenade in the car, shot it while it was blowing up. Beautiful. And then the even better part was, of course, he got shot. I knew he was going to die. I figured that. But, he looks over and sees Annie and the child, and he's on his way out. But I was just like, oh man, don't die before killing this last guy. I mean, you gotta kill this last dude. And I just love how he was in touch with his, spiritual side. And you hear this KKK guy still trying to bargain after being disrespectful. And you just see Smoke giving this look like, nigga. Lifted that damn Tommy gun. And I was thinking maybe he's just gonna shoot him one time. No, he chopped this man up. Oh my God, that moment is so riveting, so well earned. Probably one of my favorite endings in a film ever. That replays in my mind so much. If the action hero is gonna go out with a bang, because that is a goddamn bang. So this video has been about 20 minutes, so I'm going to leave it be, but I had to get those things out. Absolutely love this film, as I mentioned in my review, and if not, this is my second favorite film of the 2020s, the first being Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the only reason that's number one is because there was so much that went into getting that movie released and it's going to stay with me. But at number two, easily, this film, so great. So well written, so well directed, acted, everything. Gives me so much inspiration to keep pushing on and doing what I want to do in the space of film. So in the comments, let me know what you thought about Sinners. What are your favorite moments in the movie? Favorite sequences? This is a spoiler video, so let the things fly. Give me your theories. And of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, Thank you. Until next time. Peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.